Chioma's network is bad. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to this month's segment of our online mentorship. So, like we already know, this is Sisters Ally Foundation for Community Development, and my name is Onwe Ebere Meritelma. I'm the ED and founder of SAF, that's Sisters Ally Foundation, and we founded SAF. SAF is an NGO that was founded because we want to provide support for girl-child education and empowerment, especially girls in Abakaliki. We want to ensure that they're able to live life to full potential and they grow into women of global leadership capacity. So this online mentorship sections or program is an initiative of Sisters Ally Foundation, where we bring people from different spheres of life monthly to address pressing issues that prevent people from becoming the best version of themselves and achieving desired success. So initially, this program was made for just women and girls, but based on increasing demand, people keep telling us that, I mean, you can't effectively impact a girl child without affecting the male folk around her. So we decided to now get the male folk, that is the men and the boys involved, so everyone can benefit from these mentorship sections for free. All right, so like I already mentioned, my name is Onwe Ebere Meritelma, and I'm the ED of SAF. With me, I have Gideon, who is also a team member in SAF. Gideon, please, can you introduce yourself? Let us know who you are.
Okay, my name is Nwakor Gideon. I'm one of the team members of SAF. So I'll be co-hosting this month's online mentorship with the ED.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Gideon. It's really a pleasure to have you here. I mean, see me now. I'm in the midst of two barristers. Who am I? Anyway, Gideon is still a barrister in the making, right? He's still in the pipeline, still in the process. But we also have someone who is already a barrister here. We have barrister OG Nwakor, Esquire. I don't know if I'm supposed to add Esquire after saying barrister in the beginning, or if it's just OG Nwakor, Esquire, or barrister. I don't know how you could do it anyway, but Sha, I have a barrister here. We have a barrister here, and he's also a human rights activist, like you can all see. And I would really love you to introduce yourself to the guests who are currently viewing.
Hey everyone, happy to be here. It's going to be a very interesting conversation and I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate the host. It's a very interesting program to organize. So I do hope that we enjoy the best of it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, OG Nwakor Esquire. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we also have a psychologist in this section. And for emphasis, this month section is not an interview section. It's not like our usual monthly sections where we just come and ask questions and the guests to answer. So this is a panel section, and so it's going to be highly interactive. We are just here to have a conversation, the four of us, right, around about issues surrounding sexual assault, because the month of April is the Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we really wanted to talk about it because it also affects the girl child, which is what SAF stands for. And we also know that it's not just girls that are affected by sexual assaults. The boys can be assaulted, men can be assaulted. I mean, so anybody can really be affected by this, and that is the reason why we are hosting this section in our online monthly section for everyone to know that to really understand what is involved. All right, so and we have a psychologist here, like I mentioned earlier. We have Chioma Nlewedim. Chioma, please, can you introduce yourself to the guests who are listening? Chioma, can you hear me? Please, can you introduce yourself to the guest? Let's get to meet you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Like I said earlier, I'm Chioma Nlewedim. I'm a psychologist. I'm glad to be in this section to educate you more on sexual assault and how you can help those around you that you feel that having symptoms of those sexual assault. Thank you.
Straight to the point.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's just dive right into it because our guests today are people, they are just straight to the point people. They're not here for long talk. They want to just trash this issue and deal with it, head on. Okay, so for the psychologists, right? What exactly is sexual assault? So we really want to know what extent of sexual advances is considered an assault from a psychological perspective, and we really appreciate it if you can buttress your points with examples.
Well, saying rape. Yes, rape is one of them, but sexual assault is when intentionally touches someone in a sexual way without the person's consent. Some people think it's only when there's a penetration it becomes a sexual assault. No, even though let me say it's the use of an object or something that does not require penetration, but as long as it's in a sexual way and without the person's consent, it can be said to be sexual assault. Sexual assault can be in different form. You can say, okay, like rape, we normally know where if you use physical force to penetrate into the either a lady or a man. It can also be in form of forceful use of objects, other sexual objects. That's the sexual assault. Or when you touch an what do you call them? Is it an underage child? That's the part of the sexual assault. Let me say when you uh even though something I don't know how to put it, like when you just do anything that has to do with coordinated activities with an immature or underage child, you can still consider as a sexual assault, even though there was nothing like penetration. It can just be things like fumbling and all these foreplay is still part of the sexual assault to be considered. Thank you.
I'll still get back to you, Choma. So, but let me ask
Okay.
this the lawyer, because I have a problem with lawyers, right? We hosted a lawyer here last year, I think March last year or so, and we're talking about these things, and she mentioned something that as long as the person is married, there's nothing like rape. As long as the woman is married, between the man and the wife, no matter what happens, whether the man use knife or whether, no, it doesn't matter if it's life threatening, right? So she just said there's nothing like rape. It can be considered other forms of crime, but not rape. So it just feels like sometimes the law always have their own opinion. They have a mind of their own, right? So I just really want to understand, based in the eyes of the law, this definition Choma just gave us, please, is it the same thing as sex? Because Choma is saying it doesn't have to be penetration. It can be touching somebody funny. It can be anything as long as it's has you have sexual intentions behind your mind and the person did not give you a go ahead, it becomes an assault. So is that the same thing the law is saying too?
Well, yes, I want to completely agree with Chioma because what she said is basically what the law says. She just simplified it. Sexual assault is there's a wide scope of what can be called sexual assault, and rape is just one of them. When that lady is about to enter a bus at the park and another man is drawing her, touching her at her boat or somewhere and trying to intimidate her, that's sexual assault. If someone is showing you what you don't want to see, a guy somewhere is making you watch his penis or something or touch him, that's sexual assault. If it is your boss at your workplace, there are many variations and dimensions of what sexual assault is all about. Rape is just one of them and the most rampant one. Even though we know every day that ladies are assaulted in many ways. So the law has a wide range of what sexual assault is and what it should actually be. Because if you are touching someone in a way that the person doesn't want, it's not even with the person's consent, you're touching the lady's breast, vagina, or anus, or on top of the clothing, or in some way, there doesn't have to be any penetration as a matter of fact. The fact that you are touching the person in an indecent way and without the person's consent, you are sexually assaulting the person. If you're forcing someone to watch pornography, you are sexually assaulting the person. So these are all types and dimensions of sexual assault, and yes, it's beyond just rape, like she said. So she's very correct.
Yeah, I would have really loved to ask Chioma a question immediately after this, your comments, but like we also can see, her network is acting funny. So I'll still get back to that her question, right? So what you're trying to say now is that you know the Nigerian market, right? All these Onitsha main markets. I'm even going far. Even Abakaliki market here. Nne, bịa ị na-ego, bịa nke ị na-achọ. They'll call you Chioma, Chiamaka, Nkechi, and they're touching you. I'm like, leave me alone. The person is holding you, and even sometimes they even go as far as trying to caress you. Like, you're like, please now, Oga, what is it? And the person is still, so you can actually consider that sexual assault. I don't know. I'm asking these things because we really need to be keen on understand what the law is saying, because the law is made to protect us, right? So when you remember something about it, you remember that the law has your backing, and if this person does it, you can actually sue the person. It gives some level of courage to actually rebuke somebody that does it. But when you feel like the law will not consider this one assault, there's really nothing you can do about it. So please, can somebody be sued for doing that in the marketplace?
Oh yes, but the question is how many people will do that? That's usually the challenge. How many people will do that? Most ladies are always victims of this. And uh, first of all, let me make some clarification. The random touching, maybe dragging your back, touching your hands, and all of that, that falls under assault. It becomes sexual when it gets to your private organs, those sensitive parts of your body. Why should someone be touching you? If someone is touching a lady's breast, are you asking the person to enter the transport? Or that's far from it. That is something that is an evil intention. That is you intentionally trying to satisfy yourself by feasting on her body, either by looking at it and prompting you to take that action. So it goes beyond just that. Assault is different. Touching someone and all of that and trying to, that's assault. That could also be a thought, trespass to the person, But then when it goes to those organs, that is sexual assault. And yes, anyone can bring action against such person in court. And if proven, of course, you get whatever it is the law provides for it. So there's a wide range of this, and we can't actually exhaust it. There are many laws that regulate and define what sexual assault is, sexual intercourse, unlawful one, rape, and all of that. So, yeah, I think I answered your question on that.
Yes, thank you very much. You did. So we can consider that physical assault until it goes beyond that, and then the person is beginning to find something else, right? Okay, so there's a question I really want to ask. What happens in certain families, right? Especially when it now goes down to the case of tradition, right? Where tradition is trying to protect is maybe a particular person. Let's say, for instance, now we have a lot of cases like this where the father is molesting the daughter, or brother is molesting the sister, or even sister molesting the brother, and things like this. And I would have really loved if Chioma was here. I don't know what's going on, right? So, but um, in cases like this, most of the time, people tend to cover it up a lot, right? Based on tradition, or maybe based on, I don't know, for whatever reason whatsoever. People don't just tend to cover it up a lot. So I just really want to ask, victims of cases like this, what can they do, right? And especially considering the fact that many of them are maybe minors, they might not really be people who the law can consider capable of speaking up for themselves, So, and if a person is in a situation whereby the family is trying to cover it up or protect the person, the abuser. Now, so what can this person do? How can this person get help or justice? How can the
Okay,
person get justice?
yeah, justice is the popular word. It is still legal help. Okay, I think we have Chioma back. It's good that she's here. There are psychological aspects of this, and I'm hoping that she can take us on it. Now, what you said is our reality. And as a matter of fact, we have too many cases of rape, sexual assault, and undeniable. In fact, it has been rising in Nigeria more and more and more and more than dollar is even rising. Sincerely, it is so bad that I think it was recorded that 33% of women and girls between 15 to 49 in Nigeria have experienced some form of sexual assault or the other, and it continues every year. What this means is that out of every 15 ladies that you know, one person has experienced sexual assault. It's that bad. But how many of them do we see come out? Because the society even cheats the lady itself. If you look at the past, some of the people that I'm going to answer your question, but I'm trying to establish a background on it. Some of the people who have experienced rape or sexual assault, they don't open up. It's not because no one else knows. It's not because their families do not know. It's not even because they do not want to open up or to get help, but because of the feedback, the response, because of how the society itself has reacted to such scenarios in the past. We've had some cases of persons who come out. Whenever a lady comes out to say she has been raped, she has been sexually assaulted, the society does not greet it with smiling faces. There's an uproar, there's a reaction, and then you start seeing comments that insinuate that it is that lady herself who caused it or who did one thing or the other to lead to that sexual assault. And that is a terrible thing. That discourages any other person who has experienced or is experiencing sexual assault. And it continues in our families, in the traditional spaces, like you rightly mentioned, in companies, between employers and their employees, in homes, even in churches, between some church workers and their ministers, even in schools, between some school teachers and their students and pupils. This thing is everywhere. But the question is, what can the person do to get help? That is just one part of the equation. The second part is the person willing to do that thing to get help? The way the society greets this is not encouraging for someone to want to seek help. The law is there for so many people, but the enforcement is usually a problem. And then the willingness for persons to come out, to voice out, is another bigger problem, especially in this regard. So the law has made provisions that if you're abused, if you're sexually abused, there are so many rape cases in our courts. As a matter of fact, in Ekiti State, we had about 186 rape cases in the year 2021. Ekiti State has greeted it with very strong, countenance to fight against it. It has been in courts. We have so many rape cases in our courts in Nigeria. So the courts are there to help a person who has experienced sexual assault, rape, and the likes to get justice. So what that person can do is to approach the court. If he cannot, if it's a minor, can go through the guardian. The court allows for that. Our law allows for that. He can go through the parents or the guardian where the person has no parents. You can also approach some organizations. There are so many organizations that take up these cases. they don't smile at it at all. These organizations represent people and then help them to obtain justice. So these are the lawful ways, the legal ways that such a person can get justice. If you want to do it legally, that is the best way to do it, and that is the only thing you can do. You have to make a complaint, and then investigations are carried out, and then the person, where the person is found guilty, the rapist, the person will face the music of the law. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. Like, I really love the way you really emphasize on this and just buttressed it. So, if you look, I want everybody who is viewing to see Beyond the Past Mental Health Foundation. It's scrolling across the screen. So, this is an NGO. I know I volunteered with them at some point, and they are really keen about mental health, right? Including sexual assault or any form of assault. So just like he mentioned, this is one of the organizations you can reach out to, and they will take this case up. They will take it very seriously. Even if they are not in your location, they can. Even if they're not in your location, they can always recommend people around that can help you sort this thing out. Yeah, so I really love how you spoke about it, and I'm really grateful. So I don't know if Chioma is here. Chioma, can you hear me? Chioma, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. I couldn't hear previously before now. So please, man, I wanted to. What did you ask? I didn't get what you said earlier.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm if you can hear me. Let me just go ahead and ask my question. So, when the barrister, there was something the barrister spoke about earlier. So he was talking about that sexual assault, just like you mentioned, doesn't just have to be about the penetration. He went ahead to even say even bosses, that touch people in their workplace, funny, and maybe someone is entering boss, and then you are touching the person. And I even gave an example of people in the marketplace, and somebody is working and they are calling you and they are touching you, all those things. And he affirmed that they are all different forms of assault, right? Even though he said the one in the market can be considered a type of assault, not sexual assault, right? Okay, so but I really wanted to find out something. Does these things, because it's just like there was a statistics he mentioned earlier that 33% of Nigerian women who are between the ages of I think he said 15 and 40. I don't know if that's right. I don't know if that's the figure he gave, but that 33% of women in Nigeria, was that the figure you gave?
Yeah, I said 15 to 49. 15 to 49
Yeah,
in the
okay.
report.
Yeah. Okay, so he said 15 to 49 had been sexually abused at some point in their life. And I remember a few years ago, I was having a conversation with my cousin, and we were saying this thing, right? We were talking about it, and we're like, it looks like, we don't talk about these things, but almost personally, I can remember instances of when I've been assaulted as a kid, right? But I don't have a lot of memory of, growing up, a lot of things that happened as a kid. I don't have so many of those memories, but I can tell you vivid pictures of some of the times, an adult has really tried to take advantage of me. Even though there was no penetration or anything like that, I still have a vivid picture. For someone like me, like if you know me very well, you know that I don't really keep a lot of things in my head like that. But for me, I'm really concerned, because for me to have that vivid picture of every single one of them like that, even the ones that happened way, way back in primary school, up until secondary school, every single one of them, I have vivid pictures of them in my head. So, when these things happen, as subtle as they may be, just like someone touching you in the bus, or someone harassing you funny, sometimes you might just shout at the person and and overlook it. But I think personally, I'm just trying to say something. I think these things does something to the mind of the victim, as subtle as it may seem, even though nothing serious happened. I just really want you to talk about it, from a psychological point of view. Do you think this thing has any mental effect on people's mind? Maybe their self-esteem or maybe any other area of their lives. Do you think these things can really affect how people even see themselves?
Thank you very much. Like what you said, having vivid memory of such assaults, whether you remember or not, I think it still affects you one way or the other. You may have a memory of this assault as you grow up, because as from 3 years a child starts forming memories. So you can have a good long-term memory that you remember all this negativity that's happened to you as you, even when you don't remember it. According to what Sinofro says, he says that the subconscious is always what surface, that the child is the father of a man. So these assaults now, on the long run, you may not actually come and start showing been assaulted in one way or the other, but it shows in your personality, it shows in your character. You see someone that is short tempered, it can be as a reason of assault. You can see someone that is not good at arguing, it can be as a reason of assault. You can see someone that is very very
What's going on? Network. Okay, this psychological aspect is a really, really important aspect of this our conversation today. To be honest, I don't know what we're going to do about Chioma's network.
I think she will sort it
Okay,
out.
yeah, okay. So I just think we should just keep having the conversation, right? So you said the minor can, just like we were talking, just like we were saying earlier, you said the minor can walk into if the minor has to come with a guardian, right? Or has to report
Yeah.
to a non-governmental organization. So another question I want to ask is, so I'm assuming you're in Ekiti State, based on what you were saying earlier. I don't know if you're
Oh,
still
no,
there.
no, 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 no. I just gathered data from Ekiti State and other states, but I'm not there.
Oh, okay, okay. So I want to know, is there anything the law is doing, like to get people informed about opportunities available for them to report these things? Because I know that maybe abroad, right? Children in primary schools, and they already know how to call the cops on you, right? They know how to do all those things. Once you do anyhow, next thing the police is coming to knock on, and even their mother, they report their mothers, right? So is there anything the law is doing, maybe in partnership with the police or something, to get people educated on how they can seek for help, or maybe hotlines or something people can call? Because the truth is, some persons can be in a situation of sexual assault and not be able to reach out or even go anywhere. You know, people inside the villages that have not even seen food to eat might not have money to carry themselves outside to go to federal high court in town. You know, I'm just saying, is there any way the law is trying to bridge the gap between victims of sexual assault and the help available?
Yes, there are so many things. I'm going to mention a few of them, but I'm also going to bear in mind one of the global challenges that a country has, and that is civilization. And that is just because of what you mentioned. I was going to talk about that, and then you mentioned the traditional setting. The person in the village, what does the person know about the court system? How willing is how willing is that person to comply with the court system? Can they afford the services of a lawyer to represent them? Can they find an organization to do that completely free of charge for them? Can they even summon enough boldness, courage to approach such organization or approach the court? Because court cases are public matters. That lady will be standing in court for every time that the session holds. And you can imagine having to deal with that. I'm still going to make some psychological comments on this. I'm hopeful that Chioma joins us. But from my conversation with some friends, I've seen what this thing can do to a lady, and I'm approaching it with so much uh, uh, annoyance, not like annoyance of trying to do something negative, but it irritates me. It irritates me that my gender is promoting this at the highest level. Now, our laws have made available some machineries to help enforce um, the rights of persons who have been breached. First of all, is the law. The law itself is a machinery on its own. The law, our constitution provides that every person shall have that right to their dignity of the human person. And sexual assault is against a person's right to dignity. It shall not be subjected to such inhumane treatment. The criminal law provides for it as well, and it covers rape. Provides for a person who has been sexually assaulted, who has been raped, who, that person, the punishment that is meted out to such perpetrator. Now, that is the machinery. There are so many other laws. The Child Rights Act also provides. The criminal law provides a maximum punishment of life imprisonment. The penal code provides a maximum punishment of life imprisonment. The Child Rights Act provides a maximum punishment of life imprisonment, life sentence. Then we have the 2015 Violence Against Person Prohibition Act that also provides a maximum punishment of life imprisonment, a minimum of 14. Where the perpetrator is below 14, he has a maximum of 14. Where it is a gang rape, they are subjected to jointly 20 years imprisonment. Now, this is what the law says. That is the machinery that is available to protect persons who are victims of this, who have been affected or who have been sexually assaulted. I was just saying one of the machineries is the law itself. Then there is something that the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act introduced, which Ekiti State is also advancing. The fact that where persons have been tried for rape and found guilty, their names are entered in a particular register, a public register that bans them as rapists, a public register. I think that is a great way, a very, very big, because not seeing it will not make the victim to believe that the court is doing something. So, it is even worrying to know that there's a register of persons who have been tried and convicted for rape in Nigeria. I see that as a machinery in itself, a machinery that helps to show the public that something is being done in that regard. So the other machineries are just basically the enforcement. But I tell you that in the traditional aspect, in our rural areas, you don't get to see some of these things. The methods available, customary law always goes with custom. Customary things goes with custom. The methods available, they are usually, they subject themselves to negotiations between the families and other punishments that each peculiar community has for such instance. There are places that when it happens, the person is locked up. There are places that when it happens, they demand monetary compensation. There are places that when it happens, a whole lot of things, depending on the community. If a person rapes a person in such community and the person is reported, there are places that it happens and the punishment is to banish the person from the village. I'm talking about the rural aspect of it, looking at it from that dimension. But in the legal aspect of it, the machineries that are available is the law itself and the various enactments and laws that we have on this. And I tell you sincerely that enforcement, we are not doing so well with enforcement. And that is why so many people are holding back from reporting crimes of rape. In 2016, there was this graduate, Ijoma, I think, or something, I can't remember her name, who created a website, a platform where people can anonymously, report cases of sexual assault. And that site alone, that platform generated in thousands reports from persons of different ages who came to anonymously say what had happened to them and how they had been sexually assaulted here and there. These are some things that if it was a government institution, if it was a platform that is validly established by the government, even though people can abuse that to falsely accuse people and all of that, but at least it is enough to probe an investigation. We already know that this menace is in our society. So it is enough to cause an investigation into such things to find out the names that are listed. It is even worse when it is a celebrity that is being accused of it or that is being mentioned. That case may not go so far, because the persons who are affected may be scared to even push it through, to even come out to say that such a person of high status did such thing to me. So I'm not sure if I've been able to navigate properly alongside the question you asked me, but these are the machineries that are available under the law to provide redress to persons that have been sexually assaulted.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Barrister Nwakor. I'm really sorry the network just kept throwing me off at some point, but I know I caught
Yeah.
most of the things you said, right? And although you acknowledge that maybe the law is not really doing a lot with respect to enforcement, I mean, which is one of the issues we have in Nigeria. I mean, we have a lot of machineries, like you call them, but the problem is who will enforce them? One, who is making sure that those things are being used for what they were created to be used for? So so about what's it called? Um, affording a lawyer, right, and affording someone to legally represent you. I like I mentioned earlier, anybody can reach out to Beyond the Past Mental Health Foundation. Um, I know that they should be able to help. And you can also reach out to us, Sisters Ally Foundation. You can reach out to um, um, what are they called again? Um, trying to remember them. This is Human Rights, yeah, Human Rights Commission. That's National Human Rights Commission, yeah. So they can also, even if they won't be able to help, they would also recommend you. And I also know that FIDA as well, FIDA, International Federation of Women Lawyers too. They also help. Yeah, they also help.
Before
They also
she,
help
I wanted to ask
enforcing you.
a question on what the law says about a minor. When a minor is being, see many cases whereby minors are being assaulted, but the response from the law is very bad. It just feels so bad because they're expecting you as the parent, you should actually be there to, help push this case through. Is there like what's the punishment?
I'm sorry, I
Deb,
don't know if I
I
was
don't
able
Like,
to get.
yeah, me too. I didn't get her
okay, were
question.
you
The
able to
network.
said I wanted to actually hear what the law is saying about minors when minors are being assaulted, because I've seen cases of where minors are being assaulted daily. Like it's so bad that most times when you hear parents, the parents' reaction. It's not what you actually expect from them. So, and when you go to the police station, the way the police undermines those cases as little thing, and they can undermine, like, okay, let me just pay you 10,000. How you go? People should leave all these things. Don't harm this child. Saying about it. So next time, if I'm able to see someone that has such a case, I can actually boldly tell you that this is the punishment that is waiting for this person for doing this to the minor. Because at the end of the day, the minor may be showing you that she's all right, she's fine, or he or she is okay. But at the end of the day, this child is going to grow up to be one of the adults in the society. Due to what has happened to he or she, the person will now start showing characters, actions that actually showing that this thing that has been done to me, there was no treatment and there was no redress from this. So I want to know what the law is saying about this, on how the police are actually meant to handle such cases, because most times they just wave it off. You cannot pay 10,000, 20,000, and the case is off. So I just wanted to hear from you what the law is saying about that for minors. Thank you.
Okay, I think I really got that much better now. I tried to say something on it earlier while you had network fluctuation. Um, I'll just add a little bit more to it. Now, there's a law we call the Child Rights Act, and then each state has a child rights law for some states that have domesticated it, almost all the states anyway. Now, what that law provides is that where you sexually assault a child, you are liable to life imprisonment upon conviction. That is the law. Once you have sexually assaulted a child and then you are tried, remember I added upon conviction because everything is an allegation until it is proven in court. And I want to add at this point that that is why sometimes it looks like, so many cases of rape and sexual assault do not get to our courts because proving something can be hard. Claiming that something happens can be very easy, but proving something can be hard. These are offenses that require strict proof. These are things that you have to really prove before our court. If not, so many innocent men will be sent to jail for what they never did. That is why that condition of proving it is there. That is our law. But then now, where a child is involved and it is proven, that person is liable to life sentence upon conviction. It means that the person remains in jail for life. There is no coming out. It's now the property of the state, and the state can do with the person whatever the person wants. But there's another dimension of this that I just want to bring to our notice. I think I've been able to answer your question on what the law says on that. There are many other laws which I mentioned: the penal code, the criminal code, the Violence Against Persons Act. These laws provide punishment for rape. Even the penal code provides punishment for defilement of a child below 14 years. Even the criminal code as well make provisions for this. So there are enough laws on this, and they all sentence the person to life imprisonment and various years of imprisonment. So the dimension of this I wanted to bring to our notice is the fact that minors also assault minors. You can see there are so many cases. I don't know what our society is turning into now, but it marvels me. There is this urge among teenagers to experience what sexual intercourse feels like. It could be because of what they see every day. And to this, I want to say that the society collectively contributes to this. I remember when we were much younger myself, there are some movies that when my parents want to watch, they send us inside. We do not watch them. It was for a reason. But my father still educated us about sex. We had sex education. I grew up knowing this. He could just take me sometimes on a walk just to show me what was happening. Right? There was sex education, but there was denial of those things that could lead you to want them. So because of that, because of so many teenagers who want to experience it, they want to see what it is like, they end up assaulting their fellow teenagers or even much more younger persons. I mean minors. You can see someone who is babysitting a person of 7 years and 6 years, and that guy begins to think about sexually assaulting, that child. So that is a case where you have a minor assaulting a minor, and there is also a punishment for it as well. It doesn't matter that the person is a minor. If you are below 14 years and you assault a person, your own punishment is a maximum of 14 years, according to the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. So yeah, that is a robust view to all this. It's not just a minor being the victim. Sometimes a minor is also the perpetrator. A child also rapes a fellow child, sexually assaults a fellow child. Let me avoid using the word rape. It may look strong for that age. But yeah, that is it. I think we lost Chioma. Can you hear me, Bebe?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you very well. I can hear you very well, and I really like how you make the points very clear, how you buttress it. And for me, I think the best part of this section for me is knowing that the law did not leave us hanging, even though we are still struggling with really enforcement, and at least we have the foundation has been set, right? So for someone who wants to fight for justice, the person has somewhere to start from. Okay. And just like I already mentioned earlier, there are so many people that can help you do this thing. International Federation of Women Lawyers, I'm very sure of them because we've partnered with them from time to time. And I know that SAF too, our NGO, Sisters Ally Foundation, anybody that needs help, we can always help the person, connect them to the rights organizations or even lawyers that can do these things for them for free. Okay. So Chioma, I hope he answered your question.
Yes, he actually answered my question very well. I'm so happy at least. Next time, I can boldly say this is what should be done to this person
Yeah.
when
And
proceeding.
if you feel the parents are not forthcoming, because just like you said, that there's something we say in our culture, it takes a village to raise a child, right? So sometimes the parents might not even know better. There might be people that believe in, and there was something else Barrister Nwakor mentioned earlier that I want to ask you, Chioma. But before that, let me talk about this. Sometimes the parents act based on, what they know, what the community, what the society has informed them about these things and how to handle it. So they may not even, they may think they are doing it in the child's best interest, but at the end of the day, like you mentioned earlier, these people grow up to become troubled adults. They grow up to become adults that have a lot of internal struggles, and they don't even know where these struggles are coming from. They carry baggages into relationships, into marriages, and they end up raising kids too. So, and this is how our society will just keep growing with people that have mental health issues that have been unaddressed. All right. So there's something Barrister Nwakor mentioned earlier. He said that one of the things, I don't know if he addressed it, it was that time I was having network glitches. So he was saying that sometimes the psychological effect of standing in court, over and for all the time the case will be heard. Some people feel like they can't just do it, standing in public as the girl that was raped or the girl that was assaulted. And you know how our court cases can be. It can take a while for them to really come up with a conviction. All right. So I want to ask you, Chioma, do you think based on science, right, or social science, I don't know. So, but based on research, does speaking up help people? Does it really help people heal? Is it one of the ways of recovering? Because of course, I know these people will have to seek they need to go for therapy. Sometimes people say these things as a joke, but most of us in Nigeria actually need therapy. Especially now with the data the barriers are just dropped on our heads. It's obvious that all of us need to go for therapy, right? So, but apart from the therapy that we all have to go for, do you think that speaking up, maybe fighting in court for justice to be meted on the abuser, or just speaking up about what has been done to a person or a child, do you think it can help the person heal? I don't know why we are struggling with Chioma today, to be honest. I
I
don't
think
know.
uh, can I make a comment on that while we wait for her?
Yeah, please. Sure.
Okay, so talking about speaking out, um, you know, to understand, what something can be, it's good to understand what it is not. Now, why I say that is, we always look at precedents to kind of, speculate what could likely happen. How many persons have spoken out about their experience on rape and sexual assault, and how was it, treated? You see, we have the negative aspect of speaking out and we have the positive aspect. But in my opinion, I'm not a psychologist, though I studied psychology for about a year. But then um, the negative effect of speaking out is less compared to the positive effect. If you're watching this out there right now, and maybe you're someone that has experienced sexual assault in some way, maybe it could even be your uncle. I once had a friend that it was her uncle who sexually assaulted her. It could be your lecturer in schools, as is rampant in so many universities. In some universities now, even though students will not say it. It could be your employer. It is advised that you speak out. Why? Speaking out, you may be looking at the negative aspects, but I said in the beginning that the positive aspects are more far-reaching than the negative aspects of speaking out. Speaking out may make you may become scared of your reputation, of the kind of person that you are. It is worse when it is someone that is, well known, or someone that is religious or churchy, someone that is known to be, spiritual. Some people start thinking, this person, something has gone wrong. It can be worse if you're someone that was a teacher and all of that, just some kind of public image. Speaking out, you may think of those things, but think of it in this way. If you fail to speak out, that rapist out there can still rape someone else. That is, if they are not raping someone else all the while that you have not spoken out. If you fail to speak out, you will not feel proud of yourself. I have a couple of friends who have been who have had stories on sexual assault. To a reasonable extent, what I do with those my friends is to make sure that their self-esteem is strong and high, because this is something that if you do not speak out about it, it can keep you in a prison of yourself, and then you remain there. I once made a statement that we can all be products of our past, but not prisoners of it. The fact that you fail to voice out about your situation, it makes others blind of that situation, and they may also go in. So think of it as you are responsible. You may be responsible for so many other persons that could have, avoided that scenario. I mean, you could have saved them from that man somewhere who could have raped them, who could have sexually assaulted them. And so, talking about speaking out, there are so many ways you can do it, even anonymously. You can do it anonymously without anybody knowing that you voiced out. I did say in the beginning that enforcement is a problem, but our courts have, in over the years, our courts have convicted persons for rape. So it happens. Cases are in court of rape in Ekiti State. I mentioned Ekiti State again because that is one state that is fiercely approaching the issue of rape. I'm not aware of other states, so I'm only speaking to the extent of my research. But in Ekiti State, they found against it so much that such cases are not taken lightly. Once it comes, it is even speedy. So it doesn't take as long as the other ones, considering the psychological effect of it on the victim who is before the court. So those cases are in our court. If you file them, if the organization that you approach, gets to court on your behalf, be rest assured that your case can be proven. You may be shocked to discover that so many people will come to testify on your behalf. There are many people that when you mention that this is the person who has raped me or who sexually assaulted me, you may be shocked to realize that even your neighbor, even your best friend, even your colleague has also been sexually assaulted by that person. But you see, keeping quiet keeps all of us in the dark. We do not know who is responsible. We do not know what happened. But when you voice that, you even find those persons come to testify. And these are the ways that you prove it in court. You need not produce a video of what happened. You did not get a camera to record something when the person tries to take it. If you can do that, fine. You go ahead to do that. But persons can testify on your behalf. Persons that know this person. And then through the fire of our cross-examination and what goes on in court, the truth is realized. So the psychological aspect of it, of voicing out, is much more advantageous than keeping it back to yourself. Voicing out keeps you free. You can hear me talking out so loud now and speaking against this and all of that. But you may look at me, you may not know if I have been a victim of sexual assault or not. You see, it doesn't affect your future in any way. You can still be whatever you want to be. You can still study whatever you want to study. You can still attain heights that you want to attain. As a matter of fact, it makes you even more bold. You see more people coming to you to help them in their cases. And you're wondering why, just because you voiced out. If we have all of the persons who have been affected by rape voicing out, we'll have less rapists in our societies. Because so many of them are victims of these same persons without knowing. I dare to say this because it is rampant in our society. If you are saying that this social percentage of ladies are being raped, it is still the men in our society. It can even be me. Who knows if I've raped someone and I'm here talking about rape? Nobody can ever hear it until someone mentions my name out there and then I am investigated. You may be shocked that things will be found that are enough to get the person to dance the music of the law. So yes, voicing out helps a whole lot. It is your own first therapy to voice out. But I advise that you should voice out when you are ready to. Because a lot comes with voicing out. Public attention comes with voicing out. Concern comes with voicing out. Pity comes with voicing out. So the person should be ready before voicing out. Come out and say what happened. It doesn't matter how it goes. You make yourself free from it and you move around. Nobody will degrade you because of that. If that happens, maintain your confidence, have that confidence in yourself. There are so many ladies that we celebrate as celebrities, movie stars. It's just that we do not research enough. If you research on some of them, you see that they have shared stories of one time that they were sexually assaulted or the other. But they still star in our major movies and we clap our hands for them. We celebrate them because they have gotten past those things. They summoned courage to voice out on it and they moved on with their lives. So I am just speaking from my own perspective. A psychologist may say this differently, but I think that the advantages of voicing out is much more better than the disadvantage. As a matter of fact, there may be less disadvantage. So many persons cannot be helped unless you hear what is happening to them. You can get help. I'm speaking directly now to the public. You can get help if you know someone. Encourage the person. If it is not you and it is someone that you know, encourage the person. There are organizations you can report to. Ebere here has mentioned some of them. I also wrote down a few of them. If you're in Lagos, we have the Lagos Citizens Mediation Center. We have Constitutional Rights Project. This program is on record, so you can always come back to watch it, listen to this, and take your time to make your findings. We have the Right Enforcement and Public Law Center. We have the International Federation of Women Lawyers, that's FIDA, which she mentioned already. We have the Women Aid Collective, which is Nwakor. If they stumble on this, they will be eager to hear your report. These are persons that don't take it lightly. These are organizations that have women some women who have also experienced it and they fought it and they even secured, judgment, conviction for those persons that raped them. So they are eager to hear this report. Do not keep it to yourself in any way. You're not helping yourself, you're not helping the other persons who may be affected. We still have more of them. We have legal aid counseling in Nigeria. We have legal defense and assistance projects. We have human rights law service. We have human rights monitor. We have Just Empower initiative, and so on and so forth. Just take your phone, Google these organizations, reach out to them. I tell you that they are eager to pick up cases like this. If you meet resistance from one of them, try another one. Keep trying. Keep trying. You are doing it not just for yourself, but for so many other ladies out there who may even not be as courageous as you will be to voice out on this. So I am someone that advocates for on issues of sexual assault, because if you do not say what happens to you, nobody will know what happens to you. And it's a bad thing for you to be eating you up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. There's this celebrity, I've been trying to remember her name. She's black, she's American, and she's an actress. I've really been trying to remember her name. I heard one of her interview sections the other day, and she was saying something. She said I didn't even know she was raped. She said she was raped, some time ago at work. And people were still asking her what was she wearing when she was raped. You know, I was really surprised when I heard it, because she's a very successful actress. She's someone everybody, all of us, we all love her, but I can't just remember her name at the moment. Joyce Meyer too. We all know Joyce Meyer. You know, she was raped by her father. And so many of them like that. I'm saying this because of what you said. Speaking up is not going to change anything about who you are. It's not going to change anything about who you are. Can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, we're with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we are rounding off now. So like I was saying earlier, speaking up is not going to change anything about who you are. It won't change anything about who you are, right? So it's in fact going to even make life better. You're going to be saving a lot of lives. Just like our barrister spoke earlier, dysfunctional people make dysfunctional homes, and dysfunctional homes will make a dysfunctional society. As that, right? It's as simple as that. It's not rocket science. So if you know somebody is a criminal, somebody assaulted you, and you covered it up. So many of us that were assaulted as kids, like I mentioned earlier. I mean, there's really nothing we can do about it now, because some of those people, we just met them on transit, we don't even know who they are. They're just random strangers, right? So, but I'm talking about from today, henceforth, every single one of us, the problem we had was fear. And what will people say? What will people think of me? And I think those are just the negative aspects of this thing. What will people say? What will people think? And that's it. That's all. But I also believe that psychologically, mentally, you will be a happier person. You'll be a more fulfilled person, knowing that you sent a criminal behind bars, knowing that you put a bad person in their place. I feel like you go to sleep better, knowing that more girls and boys will be safe because of something you did by just speaking up. All right. So speaking up is definitely going to help you heal. It's definitely going to help you um break the cycle of sexual assault continuing in our society, and breaking people up, because this thing breaks people, just like we were saying earlier. People become a shadow of themselves. It changes their personality, just like Chioma was talking about earlier. Some of us that we are growing up as kids, you might find out that you were very vibrant, very outgoing, all over the place, and then all of a sudden you can't explain when you started going into your shell, started losing your self-esteem, self-confidence. You can't even make attempts. You can't, go out there into the society. And it could be subtle, these subtle assaults coming in here and there, changing your mindset about who you are. And because you covered it up, it begins to affect you as a person. So please, henceforth, if you have children, encourage them to talk to you about these things. No matter how nice the person is to them, if anybody touches you somehow or says anything to you or looks at you funny, encourage them to speak up. Let them understand that it is better they speak up so that the person will be addressed and punished for what they've done than covering up and allowing the person to continue to ruin lives, right? So thank you very, very much, Barrister. And we are truly sorry for the psychologist. This was not what we planned, but we've seen how her network kept throwing her on and off. And we truly, truly apologize. I don't know if Gideon has any final words, because you were also barely here as well. You're barely here as well. So do you have any final words before we round up?
Okay. I believe I've missed a lot anyway. So, but my final words actually is that this, when you talk of sexual assault, we've discussed rape and other forms. I also want to chip in something. I don't know if it had been mentioned before, but this assault also exists most time in verbal form. There's also this verbal form of the assault where, just like it was mentioned earlier, where maybe you are going to a car park, you want to travel, all of those things. You see all of these guys, they assault even verbally, not only when they touch and all of those things. So the assault also exists.
Yes, exactly. I just remembered, the common one they call you Ashawo. They call you, sorry, thank God it's Igbo before they flag us down. All those things. They call you funny names because you're a lady or because you are standing up for yourself. We just recently had a similar what's it called, scenario. It just happened to me just a few weeks back. Yes. And they don't like girls that stand up for themselves or say no. Next thing, they are reading abuses. So I'm really happy you mentioned it. Yes, I'm really happy you mentioned it.
So there's the verbal aspect of it. So the aspect of speaking up, I think, is necessary. People who have been assaulted, they do speak up. So, and in the aspect of preventing it, I think it should start from, parents. When raising their children, they should educate them. There's this song they do sing in primary schools now. If you touch my private part, I will tell it to my daddy. I will tell it. So the children should also be taught on how to prevent all these sexual assault by also speaking up, because some people from child have been assaulted, so they grew up to see it as a normal thing or normal way of life. So but if our parents or their parents educated them on that aspect, or they were taught in school that so type of thing, maybe if a guy touches your private part is not good, is bad, or if so thing happen. So I think this should also go beyond the adults and also get across to the the children in primary schools and some in secondary schools. They should be educated on sexual assault, things that constitute sexual assault, and and for them to summon the courage to always speak up if they are being assaulted in any way, both verbally and by other acts that constitutes sexual assault. So that is my final words. I just want to make it brief.
All right, thank you very much, Gideon. And just to buttress what you said, so we in Sisters Ally Foundation, I'm saying this as a form of commitment. We are going to visit schools, right? At least 5 schools. Gideon, take notes. 5 schools, visit both male and female, and talk to children about what they can do, who they can meet, how to speak up if anybody or any adult or even their fellow minor tries to get them assaulted. I think that should be one thing we can do, to make sure that this message gets across to people who may not be able to see this section. All right. So thank you very much, everyone. And if you would like to reach out to us, our NGO, for sponsorships, partnerships, donations, because we fund education of girls, we empower them, we help to mentor them like you see today. And this is just an online mentorship. We have one-on-one mentorship for girls in rural communities. Like you mentioned earlier, we just want people to live life to full potential. We don't want anybody being stopped from becoming who they were made to be because of one or two inequalities. All right, so that is why we are here. If it's something you would like to partner in or to donate towards, please reach out to us. You can just drop a comment in this video, under this video. Let us know how to reach you, or you send a message to our mail and we'll get back to you. So thank you very much, Barrister Nwakor. It was truly a pleasure to have you here. We really, really appreciate. Thank you for being the one consistent person on this call. We are really grateful. And we really look forward to doing more of this with you in the future. Do you have any final words for
thank
us?
you very
Anything you
much.
want to say?
Okay. A lawyer must always have something to say. All right. So, but now I want to speak as a psychologist, just on behalf of my colleague who is absent here, and then I will speak on my behalf as well. As a psychologist, I want to say to anyone who has experienced sexual assault, or if you know anyone that has, tell the person, forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself. You are not the guilty one. Forgive yourself. That is what the Sisters Ally Foundation is saying. That is the essence of this. That is why we are in the month of April, the sexual harassment awareness month. Forgive yourself and move on. There are more beautiful stages of life than where you are now, than the prison and dungeon you are keeping yourself in now. Whoever it is that did it to you is out there living large and even having more victims. So picture this, think about this, and if you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, whatever religion you are, you pray to your God or who you worship, and you find solace to be strong enough to fight for the rest of the days. There are many more days and years of your life to live. So that is it as a psychologist. Now, as a lawyer, I would say, please, those rapists need to be sent to jail. Those rapists need to be treated. They need to see, the wrath of the law, on what they are doing. It is bad. I mean, there are many ladies who could possibly offer sex for free or for a fee or for money. Why force it on someone who says no or who doesn't want it? Do you know what damage? If you're a guy listening to this, please, you should never contemplate it. If you know someone that has, please report the person. Be honest enough to report the person. The next victim might be your sister. That is the truth. You do not know how these things go. They never come out in the limelight. It's something that happens all in the secret, and it keeps going on and on. Please, the lawyers are out for issues like these. Lawyers do pro bono cases so many times on cases like this and so many other aspects. If you cannot afford a lawyer, you can approach any firm. You can even walk into any law firm that is close to you, talk to them about it. I'm very sure and I'm hopeful that our colleagues, both my seniors and juniors and colleagues as well, will be eager to take up issues like this and secure victory for you. Not just victory, you also get monetary compensation, for what was done to you. You also get lots of money for the damage, the psychological torture, the mental torture, the emotional torture you had to go through. You can get so much more. Just be bold enough to reach out. And if you reached out before and it didn't work, don't hold back. Try again. Just try again. Just try again. So I wish us all the best. Happy to have been on this program. It was educating for me as well. While researching on it, I found so many other things that interested me, and I think it was an advantage for all of us. For I thank the host. I thank you, Gideon and Ebere. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Let me just say something. What you said, I already mentioned before that dysfunctional people make dysfunctional homes. People who are victims of rape, sexual assaults, most likely become rapists too. They most likely become assault abusers in the future. So if you have been abused, please get help. Go for therapy, especially if you've been raped. Go for therapy. I mentioned beyond the past mental health foundation. Reach out to these people so that tomorrow you don't start trying to act like your abuser acted towards you. All right. And like the barrister said, please speak up. you know report cases like this so that justice and will be meted and the cycle will be broken once and for all. All right. So thank you very much, everyone. That is that for today, and we'll see you next month for hopefully a much more exciting section and a much more stable network. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Bye.